Hello, Arkansas, and welcome to this week's edition of Arkansas Money Talk, brought to you by the team of Retire Path Wealth. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and joining me in the studio is the President of Wealth Management, Dale Colclasure, and co-founder, Mark Smalling. We've got a great show for you today. If you have ever asked yourself the question of when should you file for your Social Security benefit, and if you are wondering how the recent changes with the One Big Beautiful Bill might be affecting your Social Security, you're not going to want to miss today's show. Dale and Mark, I know we've got so much to get into. This is going to be a great conversation. Really, how are you guys this week?
Doing great.
Good. Well, I know Social Security is something that comes up a lot in your conversations with folks, and rightly so. It's an important piece of one's overall retirement income puzzle. And that's really something that does set the team of Retire Path Wealth apart, is that you all engage in the Social Security planning conversations, helping folks optimize. So just to set up the context for today's show, we're going to kind of come at things from a different angle that you may not have heard previously, but let's just start with the basics and help folks understand the key crucial ages and what that might mean for them based on when they're planning to claim their Social Security benefit.
Right, and Kristen, I mean, it is one of the things that we talk to clients every day about. And we actually do a lot of educational workshops for employer groups about this particular subject. So, most people know that they can take their Social Security benefits as early as age 62. That's the earliest you can take your own retirement benefits. If you have survivor benefits, you can actually take them as early as age 60. But the earlier you take your benefits, the less you're actually going to receive, not just then, but also over your lifetime. And you're going to take a reduction of anywhere from 25 to 30% less than what it would be at your full retirement age. And full retirement age is that age that's on the front of your Social Security statement, if you've seen one of those recently, that tells you when you're going to get your full primary insurance amount or your full benefit if you wait till that date. But you can also earn delayed retirement credits if you go past your full retirement age, and you can earn those up to age 70, and that's an 8% increase per year. So anytime between when you first start taking your benefits at 60 or 62, it's going to be going up about 5 or 6% a year. Once you get to your full retirement age, then it will actually go up by 8% simple interest per year. So there's a huge disparity in what you would receive over your lifetime, whether you take it earlier or later.
Yep. And so that's the interesting thing, is there's a lot of talk out there about maximizing your Social Security benefit, right? And the short answer, if we just want to give a blanket, the way you maximize it is clearly you wait until age 70 to turn it on. But is that really the right strategy? Because really what it should be about is optimizing your Social Security. We'll get into more of why that is. But I know a recent article came out in the Wall Street Journal that we wanted to discuss today that really was an argument against waiting until age 70 to take your benefit. So let's talk about that. We're going to juxtapose, what's that word again?
Juxtapose.
Thank you. We were laughing about it before the show. I can say it, juxtapose these two opinions, because, it's interesting. It may not always be the right thing for someone to wait till age 70.
Again, Kristen, the huge issue here is that so many people want to have this conversation about Social Security and only talk about the Social Security benefit itself. They're not including assets and other income that they have in place. And so that's why we want to always walk through a complete planning process while we're talking about the ability to maximize the Social Security benefit. Because the math would be really, really simple if we knew when we were going to pass away, because that's where all of these break-even points and all these mathematical calculations that people want to come up with to justify when the optimal time to take your Social Security benefit is. But the reality is we have to make some basic assumptions, and that's based on, your particular age. If you're married, the age of your spouse. What other assets that we have in place, what other income opportunities there are that exist as well. So it's not really just simple math. It's really an algebraic calculation where we take all of these different considerations into play to make sure that we're doing the math to optimize. So if I don't have as much longevity expectation in my family, it may make a lot more sense for me to take a benefit earlier. If there's an age disparity between spouses, and what I mean by that is typically it's 3 to 4 years, but if it's a greater number than that, it may now make the calculation of, gosh, do I take the larger benefit? Do I take the smaller benefit of the two to start with? Because the reality here is the thing that most people don't want to talk about is is one spouse going to be drawing a single Social Security benefit for a longer time afterwards, and now not even as a joint tax filer, but also as a single tax filer? That whittles penalty that everybody understands about, but often doesn't want to have in the Social Security conversation.
Now, it's interesting to me because you were saying that a lot of times folks come in to meet with you and they already have an idea of when they think they are going to turn on Social Security. How often do you find that the strategy folks think in their head is the right strategy for them is in fact the best way for them to personally optimize their benefits?
Well, Kristen, everybody has an idea about when they're going to do it, and it usually is as soon as they retire, they're going to turn on their Social Security benefits, and it works in some situations, and as Dale mentioned before, depending on what they have. I mean, there are some people that are going to be fine regardless of when they turn their Social Security benefits on because they've been good savers. They have other dollars to give them more flexibility. But then there are those that this isn't going to be just 30, 40, 50% of their retirement benefit. That you're looking at 60, 80+% of their retirement income is actually coming from their Social Security benefits. Well, in that case, we really do need to maximize. And sometimes people just don't have a choice. Sometimes people, they're retiring, and sometimes it's not their choice to retire, and they have to start taking their Social Security benefits at that time, and you just kind of have to do the best with what you can and make that work as well as you can in their situation.
And one of those things, as Mark relates to the idea of somebody having to retire, many times we'll see people will come in and want to file for an early retirement benefit, but they're leaving work because of a potential disability.
Right.
But there's been so much negative conversation about how difficult it is to get Social Security disability in the past, which is not really the case now. And so there may be many times where they can file for that disability benefit to enhance their Social Security benefit down the road. Again, as Mark just mentioned, the idea that we got to take all these assets into consideration. Again, don't just think about the income from the Social Security. And we hear commonly people say, oh, well, it's my money. Folks, it's all your money. Whether it's the money that's in the 401k plan, whether it's the money coming from the pension, whether it's the money coming from the Social Security benefit, whether it's from the outside savings, whether it's inheritance coming in future, it's all your money. And if you're looking for a way to maximize the outcome of your retirement income, please make sure you reach out and give us a call. Let's reach out and get a written income plan put in place for you so you can at least understand the difference if I draw at this age versus what if I draw at this age. Our job is to put you in a position to have the information to make the best decision for yourself. We'd love the opportunity to visit with you to help you build that plan.
Wonderful. Dale, Mark, thank you so much. I know we've got a lot more to dive into regarding this important subject of your Social Security benefit, but one thing that it's important to know is that if you go down to the Social Security Administration, they are allowed to give you information, but they are not allowed to give you individual, personalized advice based on your unique situation. The only way you're going to be able to get that personalized advice on how you can optimize your Social Security benefit is by meeting with folks like Dale and Mark from Retire Path Wealth and having it be part of your overall comprehensive retirement income plan. So we encourage you to schedule your complimentary plan today. You can do so by calling 866-724-3893. Or if you'd rather connect online, simply scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. Stay with us. We'll be back with more on how you can optimize your Social Security benefits right after this.
We take the planning seriously. We run all the numbers, gather all the information.
I mean, I've heard of firms calling 70% outcome, goal achievement. Hey, we're there. Well, when I went to school, a 70 was a C-. That's not how I want to walk into retirement.
Everything we do from a planning perspective at Retire Path, we take the fiduciary responsibility, not just with the finances, but with everything, trying to put you in the best place possible for yourself. A successful retirement to me is not having worries about where dollars are coming from or about your health coverage.
Tax code's going to change. Medicare is going to change. Social Security, it's going to change, folks. You want somebody that's going to understand how those changes affect everything else as you move along. That may be great general advice, but it has nothing to do with your personal situation.
I mean, to literally see people come in the office that are scared and there's a lot of trepidation, and having them leave with that weight lifted off of their shoulders.
Let's get your data in, allow us to analyze your situation, and see if we can be a valuable partner in your financial life.
Making sure that everyone that comes in to our office leaves feeling like they've received something of value from us. Retire Path is a unique place because we built it from scratch.
Welcome back, Arkansas. You're watching Arkansas Money Talk. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with both Dale and Mark from Retire Path Wealth, and we are so glad that you're hanging out with us today. If you're just tuning in, we are talking all about optimizing your Social Security benefits as part of your overall retirement income plan. And we shared earlier in the show how most folks think they have an idea of when would be best. In fact, if you want to know how to maximize your benefits, the answer is easy. You just wait until age 70 to turn it on. But is that really the best decision? Again, there's so many personal factors that far outweigh the math. This is why you all sit down with folks, you look at everyone's individual situation and really run the different scenarios to show people how they can optimize their benefits. And it's interesting because even though there's a lot of talk about maximization and waiting until age 70, the reality is that few retirees wait that long. And an analysis from the Bipartisan Policy Center found that back in 2022, only 10% of Americans actually waited until age 70 to claim their Social Security benefits, while 29% claimed their benefits at age 62, and the majority of folks, 61% of people, did so before their full retirement age. So what is going on, guys? Why is this happening, in your opinion?
Well, I think a lot of it is because people come in and they tell us it's their money. They want to turn it on.
Right.
They want to get their benefits as soon as they possibly can, and they don't want to wait. And it's interesting because, we were talking about this earlier, longevity. There's a lot of people that think that they're only going to live to a certain age because their father or their uncles, their aunts, their grandmother, whoever it was, lived to a certain age. I'm not living beyond that. Right. The reality is, most people are going to live beyond, the ages that our predecessors did. And so we have to plan for that. And then, they also have, it's natural to not want to spend that nest egg. So people have been watching this 401k, 403b, this IRA build up. You don't want to see it depleting.
Right.
Yeah. And there was another part of this study in this article that talked about that people have a tendency, if it's money that's coming in from Social Security benefits or a pension, people are likely to spend 80+% of those dollars. But when it comes to dollars that are coming out of their retirement nest egg, it's really closer to 50% of that they're comfortable spending. They always want to save back, some of those dollars. So it's human nature is really what it comes down to.
Right.
And the follow-up with human nature is that term that, I guess it made famous of the last couple of years of FOMO. The fear of missing out. It's, gosh, if I don't start that and somehow I get the short end of the stick in the Social Security calculation. Well, again, back to the whole idea is if we know when we're going to pass away, then we know when that is. But the vast likelihood is that most people are going to live longer than they really expect that they will.
Right.
And so they shortchange themselves on that calculation of just simply by wanting to get those dollars started sooner. Again, complete process, folks. We want to make sure we look at everything in this conversation.
Well, I think the other thing that comes into play is the best laid plans, right?
That's
so
right.
A lot of folks have an idea of how long they want to work. And of course, Social Security is tied to that decision, right? But this is according to research by JP Morgan Asset Management. And they found that nearly 70% of workers expect to retire at age 65 or older, but only 34% of retirees managed to work that long. The reason among those who retired earlier than they had planned, nearly 1/3 cited health problems or disabilities. We know that can happen for a lot of folks. 23% cited corporate downsizing, so being blindsided by a sudden layoff. And 13% said they retired early to either take care of their spouse or another family member. So I think that really plays into it as well, because maybe you plan to work longer, right? Delay Social Security, but if life happens, it becomes natural to want to go ahead and turn it on earlier, and that may be the best course of action for someone to take.
Well, again, I think so many people think when we have this conversation about deferring those benefits out, it's like, oh, you're asking me to sign a contract that I'm not going to take anything till age 70. And the reality is that's not the case at all. We're just saying, hey, let's have a consideration that if it makes sense to defer, and again, we're not always saying that it does. That's why we go through the complete process. That's why we put together a written income plan so that we know what our different situations can look like. And then if deferral makes sense, what we're really talking about is 30-day, individual monthly decisions to continue to defer that benefit out as long as it makes sense. The one constant we know in life is change, and if we have a change in our health, which would, I believe in most cases, is the primary determination of taking that benefit earlier that's there. And again, even in some of those, it may not sense. If I've got a much more substantial benefit than what my spouse does, and I know I'm going to pass away early and she's only going to be receiving one of those checks, I might want that one to be the largest.
Right. So there could be some strategy, especially for married couples looking, okay, maybe you go ahead and turn yours on because yours is lower, but we're going to let mine grow because it'll be bigger, that sort of thing.
Right. And I think some of those decisions are made backwards based on that same math.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what are some of the other overlooked risks, in your opinion, for folks waiting, just blanket statement, I'm going to wait till 70 because that's the most I can get? What are the risks of doing that?
Well, one of the things that the economist said in this Wall Street Journal article was that people are looking at this and they're discounting what people would actually earn on the benefits that they receive. So if someone is receiving their Social Security benefits and they're actually investing it, that they could actually make more money on it than what they're showing in most of these analyses, and that they could have really outpace what Social Security would be, even with the increases for inflation and for deferral. Now, whether or not that's true, and it depends on each individual situation. I mean, there are people, if you don't need all of it and you are going to invest it, there are people out there that will outpace that. I'm sure they exist.
Right.
I don't think it's the norm, but I do think that is something that needs to be taken into consideration, because that's also giving you the opportunity to have more flexibility in your retirement planning and have those dollars available. Because if you want to take that special trip, or you have other opportunities in your life, you can't go to Social Security and ask for an advance on your Social Security benefit.
Right.
So that is one of the arguments, that you actually have those dollars available to you, and those are gives you more flexibility in your retirement. Well,
and to finish that exact same thought, I think so many times people clump all these assets together and consider all of them exactly the same. If I have IRA dollars or qualified funds, and then I have non-qualified dollars or dollars I've saved after tax, those are completely different situations, because one of our major concerns with also taking those Social Security benefits early is if I have large IRA accounts, I'm limiting my ability to access those dollars today in lower tax brackets. But if I have smaller qualified dollars and larger non-qualified accounts, then it may make more sense to begin to take the benefit to invest those dollars, even if I don't necessarily need them for living expenses, because I'm not cutting off my opportunity to get the money out of the qualified accounts.
Right.
And I think that is so often overlooked as well, when we're not looking at a total investment strategy, when I'm looking at my dollars in individual buckets. So if you've been out there and you're making these calculations and you're having the consideration, and you're like, hey, I've got dollars here, I've got dollars here, I've got these income sources coming in, and I've not been able to make sense of what the best option is, hey, reach out. We would love the opportunity to help assist you in giving you the full picture of being able to make the best opportunity.
Wonderful. Dale, Mark, thank you. I can hear the head swimming as we're watching this show. There's so much to think about.
That's right.
And I'm
it's
glad
not just filing and getting it done.
It's not just as simple as, oh, I'm this age, I turn it on, I get this amount.
Right.
Again, there are so many personal factors that far outweigh the math. That's why there's no substitute for sitting down in the financial planning environment and figuring out when the optimal time is for you. So again, we encourage you to reach out and schedule your time to come in and receive your complimentary written income plan from Dale and Mark and the team of Retire Path Wealth. To schedule yours, simply call 866-724-3893. Or again, if you'd rather connect online, simply scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. We'll be back with more right after this.
A retirement income planner isn't just a professional resource. They are your advocate, your strategist, and your guide on a journey to a successful retirement. At Retire Path Wealth, we work with families just like yours to customize strategies based on your unique goals, your risk tolerance, and your life stage to ensure your retirement plan aligns with your aspirations. Hi, I'm Dale Callclaser, Certified Financial Planner. If you are searching for a fulfilling retirement and confidence in your financial future, give us a call and learn more about how we can help.
Think your retirement savings are all yours? Think again. Your 401k, IRA, or pension comes with a tax bill from Uncle Sam, and it could be bigger than you expect. Want to find out how much? Our quick and easy tax calculator can show you right now. Just scan the QR code or visit retirepathtaxtest.com to see your potential tax hit and how to plan around it.
Welcome back to Arkansas Money Talk, where today we've been discussing a lot about optimizing your Social Security benefit, kind of turning traditional thought on its head of, we know that there's a lot of talk out there about maximizing, waiting till age 70. We've already covered why that may not be the right course of action. Again, there's no one size fits all. And really, this is why you all meet with folks, you understand their situations, and then develop their Social Security claiming strategy as part of their overall retirement income strategy. We do need to talk about the One Big Beautiful Bill, because there's been so much talk this past year about the taxation of Social Security benefits. Is it still there? Is it going away? So let's unpack this for folks. It's been a little confusing, to be honest, right?
Yeah, it really has. So determining how your Social Security, or how much of your Social Security benefit is actually taxable has not changed with the Big Beautiful Bill. The provisional income calculations have been the same since 1993. They haven't been indexed for inflation. They're the same numbers.
Which is really infuriating when you stop and think about it, right?
It's one of those things you thought might happen.
Right.
Instead of doing all these tax credits or extra standard deduction or whatever, why don't you just inflate it, the charts, but that didn't happen.
That's too logical.
That's too logical. Mm-hmm. We're not in charge.
Right.
They didn't put us in charge.
Nobody asked us.
No one asked us. I say that almost every day. No one asked me. So, determining how much is taxable. So your benefits are either going to be 0%, 50%, or 85% taxable, depending on where your provisional income comes into play. And provisional income is half of your Social Security benefits added to other taxable income that helps determine what that is. So once that's said, with the Big Beautiful Bill, they've added an additional senior standard deduction of $6,000 per individual if you're 65 or older and receiving your Social Security benefits. So it's only if you're 65 and older and receiving the benefit. If you're not, you don't get the extra deduction. Now, for a lot of people that we're looking at this, we're taking a new look at it for people that we've run these calculations for about when to take their Social Security, because in some instances, this is actually making people determined to take their benefits a little bit earlier than they were planning to, because these provisions are only going to be around for 3 more years, for sure. Mm-hmm. And after that, they would have to be re-upped in order for those to continue going forward. So it is a consideration. That your taxes, even if you owe them, could be less because of the standard deduction.
And that's primarily going to be the consideration for folks that have not had a lot of savings put aside. And again, not just savings, but qualified plan savings. That's really the idea there, because again, we have got to outweigh the benefit of being able to get those out at lower tax brackets as opposed to that. But then it also simply adjusts the math. I mean, many times on this show, we talk about taking income up to the top of a certain tax bracket just because it makes fiscal sense. That's still in that calculation there as well. But if you're somebody with a $4 to $8 million IRA out there that's having this consideration, that may still not be your best option.
Right. It's interesting because when Social Security was first created, it was never supposed to be taxed, right? Now for folks, up to 85% of their Social Security benefit could be taxed. And I think it just speaks to the fact that when you hit the decade of your 60s in particular, I know one of our most popular shows was when we went through, the key birthdays for retirement planning, right? But in your 60s, you have this convergence of now it's thinking through Social Security and taxation, and are you still working? And now Medicare comes into play, and there's a 2-year look back to see how much you're going to pay for Medicare. Oh, and by the way, do you have all this money sitting in these qualified tax deferred accounts? Okay, what's the most tax efficient way to begin withdrawing those funds? This is why you all specialize in this phase of life. There is so much more to it.
Well, and the other thing too, Kristen, is you mentioned Social Security was never meant to be taxed. It was always designed to also be a supplement.
Yes, a
to
safety
pension
net.
Plans.
Yeah.
This was a safety net that was put in place for people that were going to outlive the expense factors of their corporate pension. Well, as those corporate pensions have gone away and 401k plans have come in to make the replacement, we've lost that vision of, hey, that's my savings that Social Security is supposed to supplement, and we've had this transition to, supplement, now Social Security is the place I start, and then I just supplement it on top of that. I think when people come in and we have that conversation, and that's always been their thought process, and they've worked with another asset manager who has conferred that that's the best strategy to go, maybe that's simply because, they don't want you accessing the assets they're getting paid off of. Let's make sure, because as a full fiduciary and as a certified financial planner, we have to look at the aspect of the complete picture to show you what the total aspect of utilizing all of your assets and all of your income have the opportunity to look like.
So well said. So as we wrap up today's show, Mark, explain to our viewers when they come in for their complimentary written income plan, talk a little bit about what they're going to learn and what they're going to receive from Social Security, but also from all the other aspects that you provide.
Absolutely. When you come in and see us at RetirePath, we're actually going to go through a full financial planning questionnaire. We're going to put together a written income plan, which is going to include your Social Security benefits. That we're going to look at that. And oftentimes we look at multiple options for taking that, because there's hundreds of them if you're a married couple that we're going to look at. We're going to make sure we find the right situation for you based on your needs and objectives. So if you haven't had this conversation with another advisor, or you would like a second opinion, we recommend that you scan the QR code, give us a call. We'd love to sit down and have a conversation with you.
Wonderful. Mark Dale, thank you so much. You brought up so many good points today. I know this has been really helpful and beneficial, but the real way they're going to be able to help you is by you coming in and taking advantage of your very own complimentary written income plan. 866-724-3893 is the number to call to schedule yours. Thanks so much for watching. We love you, Arkansas. We'll see you next time here on Arkansas Money Talk.